What's up, friends? On tonight's video, we're going to send these 34 Pixar cars down the track. Except for Sally. She doesn't quite fit. All right, here we go. All 34 of these cars have been to Speed Shop. We've got a few extra spaces up here in the bracket because we've got a little bit more than 32. When I was doing the warm-up laps on these guys after I sent them to Speed Shop, there were some that were not exactly the fastest in the whole wide world. We're gonna race these cars off first. Winners of these pairings are gonna fill the empty spots into the bracket. I did kind of a seeded order, but I didn't make it an obvious seeded order. I do have the 4 fastest cars in the 4 different corners, and I'm sure it'll probably be a little bit obvious after round 1 is complete. But as of right now, you're just gonna have to wait and find out. We're running these cars off 2 at a time, heads up down this quarter-mile drag strip. Fastest pass after lane swaps will advance that car to the next round. Unless I see greater than a car length beat, then it'll be a one and done. Appreciate everybody who participated in the Pick Your Ride. I'll make sure that you see your names as we do the initial round 1 lineups up at the start gate. Good luck on your picks. Let's get this thing rolling. All right, here we go. First prelims are up in the blocks. We've got number 74, Patty, in lane 1, and Marilyn in lane number 2. Marilyn, a little bit tight in the track. She does pinch just a little bit. This should be fairly simple. Ready, set, go. 23:41 to a very, very poor showing by Marilyn. One and done victory by Patty. He goes into the bracket. Next up, we've got Chisaki in lane number 1 and Vern in lane number 2. Here we go. 23:42 to a 24:53 one and done victory for Chisaki. And she's the next car into the bracket. And for the last 2, the Gremlin is actually called Don Crumlin. He's in lane number 1, and Maddie McGear in lane number 2. And go. Actually, that was a pretty tight race. 23:58 to a 23:59. All right, we're going back to the top. Lane swappage 23:58 is the time. Another 23:58. Pretty consistent for the Gremmy and not very good for Maddie McGear.
Go fish.
So Don Crumlin, last car filling the open slots in the bracket. All right, here we go. Round number 1 starts off with Brent Mustangburger in lane number 1 and Patty, number 74, in lane number 2. On your marks, get set, go. 22:89 to a 23:28. And I saw a gappage on that one, so that is going to be a one and done victory. Next up in the blocks, we've got Tex Dynaco in lane number 1 versus Andy Vaporlock in lane number 2. Here we go. 22:83 to a 22:95. Tex takes the first one. Later swap, 22:83 is the mark. Nice, 22:65 to a 22:96. And Tex Dynaco, well, barely fits, but he's going on to round number 2. Next up, we've got Heyday Leroy Hemming in lane number 1 and Cry Pillar in lane number 2. Ready, steady. Oof. Cry Pillar, 22:67 to a 23:09. And that was gappage. So that'll be a one and done victory. One of the viewers in the intro video asked me to go ahead and run these guys off dry. I don't typically do that, but I did say that I would tell you which one of these dry cars, and when dry I mean unlubed, was actually fastest. And APB was actually the fastest out of all these cars without any lube. Well, he's been to Speed Shop as well as everybody else, and he's in lane number 1, and he's going up against Chuck Manifold in lane number 2. And go. Chuck Manifold making a race out of it. 22:84 to a 22:89. Later swap, 22:84 is the mark. Doesn't get it. He does. 2274 to a 2284. So APB, with a pretty good second run, is going to earn his spot into round number 2. Look at the big brain on Brad. He's in lane number 1. We got Bob Cutlass over there in lane 2. Let's see it, Brad. $22.66 to a $23.10. Nice run by Bob Cutlass. That was gappage, and with that, one and done victory. Next up in the blocks, the unnamed blue Maserati. His name is actually Bindo, and he's going up against Chisaki in lane number 2. $22.88 to a $23.39, and that was some cabbage. Therefore, Bindo, one and done victory. Next up, we've got Axle Accelerator in lane number 1, going up against Caleb Worley in lane 2. Ready, steady, go. It was a pretty good race. 22.81 to a 22.85. Laser swap, 22.81 is the mark. Oh boy. Oh boy, 22.60 to a 22.92. Axle Accelerator really waking up on the second run. It's going to send him on to round number 2. Staged and ready, we've got Toe in lane number 1 and the other Patty in lane number 2. And that's a pretty close fit. Should be interesting. Pretty close. 22.79 to a 22.81. Laser swap, 22.79 is the mark. Race. 79 to an 84. Let me go back and check the slow passes on the last race. Tied fast passes, but I went back and looked at the slow passes, and Toe was beating out Patty by 3 thousandths on the slow pass. So he's going to round number 2. Going over to the right-hand side of the bracket, we've got Victor Pavillon in lane number 1 and Miles Axelrod in lane number 2. Man, I wish that Jaguar was a little bit heavier. 22.77 to a 22.95. Let's go back to the top. Laser swap, 22.77 is the mark. 22.79 to a 22.86. Miles Axelrod gets it done in both lanes. Moving on to round number 2. Staged and ready, it's Heyday Smokey in lane 1, Don Crumlin in lane 2. Yep. Oh boy. 22.88 to a 23.41. That would be a one and done victory. And Smokey, moving on to round number 2. Next pairing up in the blocks in lane number 1, we've got Antonio Veloce, and in lane number 2, it's Pat Traxon. Ready, steady. Not a bad race. 22.77 to a 22.98. Taking back up to the top. Lane swappage, 22.77 is the mark. Oh, without a doubt. 22.64 to a 23.21. A little bit of a collision down there at the stop bag. Antonio Veloce winning them both. Moving on to the next round. Next two up the blocks, we got Randy in lane number 1 and Chris Revstopski in lane number 2. Should be a good race. It is a good race. 22.79 to a 22.84. And swap, 22.79 is the mark. Another 22.79 to a 22.82. Okay. So, Chris Revstopski, without the flag, wins them both. He's going to round 2. Next two staged and ready, we got Mario Andretti in lane number 1 and Donna Pitts in lane 2. And go. Donna Pitts, 22.67 to 23.03. Pretty sure I saw some gappage on that one. Yep, with gappage comes a one and done. She's moving on to round number 2. Next two up in the blocks, we got Revni Grillante in lane number 1, Liability in lane 2. On your marks, get set, go. Pretty good race. 2284 to a 2289. Lane your swap, 2284 is the mark. Oh God. 2300 to a 2302. Some seriously poor runs by the two of them. But the fastest first pass run belongs to Liability. He's moving on to the next round. Staged and ready, we've got the crowd favorite, Claire Gunzer. She's in lane number 1 versus Randy Lawson in lane 2. Come on, Claire. 2278 to a 2301. Let's go back to the top. Lane swap, 2278 is the time to beat, and I saw her wiggling through the telephone screen even. She needs to knock that off. Clean run that time. Ooh, 2260 to a 2304. When Claire runs straight, she can be pretty quick. See if she can keep it up. And for the last two cars in round number 1, the matchup's going to be against Bill in lane number 1 and Carlo Maserati in lane 2. Let's see it. Not a bad race. 2277 to a 2293. Lane swappage, 2277 is the mark. 2282 to a 2289. Carlo Maserati takes them both. Gets a ticket to round number 2. Round 1 in the books, and we're done separating the men from the boys. Times should be tightening up from here on out. Well, if you picked a car that made it past round number 1, congratulations. We got Brent Mustang Burger in lane number 1 and Tex Dynaco in lane number 2. And here we go. $22.68 to a $22.72. Tex Dynaco fast out of the blocks. That's a whole shot victory right there. And we're swapped. The Mustang needs to beat a $22.68 to move on to the next round. Oh, does he get it? 74 to an 81. He does not. Tex Dynaco with a blistering first run. It's going to send him on to the next round. Next pairing up in the blocks, we got K Pillar in lane number 1 and APB in lane number 2. And that was a tight race. APB taking that one by 1/1000. Langer swap, K needs to beat a 22.73 to advance. I think she gets it. 22.75 to a 22.90. Not gonna do it. So APB, the dry run champ, he's gonna move on to the next round. Next race, and this should be a good one. We got Bob Cutlass in lane number 1 and Bindo in lane number 2. Let's see it. Oh, Bob Cutlass. 22.62 to a 22.84. That was close to gappage. Let's go ahead and re-rack them, see it happen one more time. Bob Cutlass pretty quick. If you want to see more details on any of these cars, make sure you go back to my previous video where I do the intros on all these, but there is another Bob Cutlass out there that overhangs on his body. You want to look for the one that's got that RSN in block letters on the side of the car. Langer swap, 22.62 is the mark. 22.57 to a 22.85. Well, that ought to do it. And Bob Cutlass wins them both. He's going to round number 3. Next pair of cars staged in the blocks. We've got Axle Accelerator in lane number 1 and Tow in lane number 2. Marks, get set, go. Axle Accelerator, 22.70 to a 22.88. Lane swappage, 22.70 is the time. Tow is not gonna get it done. 22.61 to a 22.87, nice. And Axle Accelerator is going on to round number 3. That should be a good matchup. Moving over to the right-hand side of the bracket, brings us Miles Axelrod in lane number 1, and Heyday Smokey in lane 2. Ready, steady. Race. 2281 to a 2282. Indeed, it was a good race. Lanes are swapped. 2281 is the mark. 2280 to a 2288. Well, he got it by 1 thousandths. And that's going to earn Miles a spot in round number 3. Next up, we've got Antonio Valachi in lane number 1 and Chris Restopski in lane 2. Go Whitey, go. 69 to a 77. Back up at the top, lanes are swapped. 2269 is the mark. 2271 to a 2283. Antonio Valachi wins them both. He's going on to round number 3. Staged and ready, we've got Donna Pitts in lane 1 and Liability in lane 2. Here we go. Don't let the patina fool you. 2267 to a 2285. That was a good run. Re-racked, lane swapped. 2267 is the time. Dawn is good. 2267 again to a 2292. Donna takes them both. She's going to round number 3. And for the last pairing of round number 2, we've got Claire Gunzer in lane 1 and Carlo Maserati in lane 2. Will she roll straight? Not too bad on that one. 2269 to a 2270. Well, one silly run and the clown goes home. Let's see if 2269 can be beat by the Maserati. Oh, she's fast in lane 2. 2259 to a 2275. And she pulls off 2 more victories. She'll be going to round number 3.
I don't mind being short, fat, and ugly, but the pay sucks.
Round 2 in the books. And I'm sure you probably noticed it in the background. We've got a couple more ranking boards on the channel. We've got the Scale Racing Channel modified ranks on the left-hand side, and the jumbo ranks on the right-hand side. We'll be filling these up here shortly. On to round number 3, we continue to whittle them down. We've got Tex Dynaco in lane number 1 and APB in lane 2. Ready, steady. Good race. It's Tex taking it 2274 to a 2276. Lane swappage, 2274 is the mark. Tex with a hellacious whole shot victory, 2260 to a 2285. And that run right there is going to put Tex into the semifinals. The next pair staged and ready, we've got Bob Cutlass in lane number 1 and Axel Accelerator in lane number 2. Here we go. 2262 to a 2266. Bob Cutlass takes him on the big end. Major swap, 2262 is the time to beat. Oh, what is it? 2260 to a 2266. And Bob Cutlass just took out my favorite. He's got the next slot in the semifinals. Next 2 staged and ready. We got Miles Axelrod in lane number 1 and God dang it. What is his name? Antonio Valachi. Next 2 staged and ready. We got Miles Axelrod in lane number 1 and Antonio Valachi in lane number 2. On your marks, get set, go. Pretty good race. 2268 to a 2274. Lane swappage, 2268 is the mark. Oof. 22.75 to a 22.83. The second time wasn't very good. But the first pass quick enough to send him off into the semifinals. Last two for round three, staged and ready. We'll see if Donna Pitts in lane one can pull off an upset against Claire Gunzer in lane two. Let's get it, Donna. Oh, it's close. 22.60 to a 22.65. And we're swapped with 22.60 being the time to beat. $22.62 to a $22.66. The clown wins them both. She moves on to the semifinal round. And the semifinals are going to start off with Tex Dynaco in lane one and Bob Cutlass in lane two. Ready, steady, go. Oh, geez. 22.58 to a 22.92. Pretty sure that was gappage, but let's see that caddy run one more time. He needs to best a 22.58 to advance. Another 22.58 to a 22.66, and Bob Cutlass making another pass on the big end. And that's going to be good enough to send him on to the race final. Second semifinal race, staged and ready. It's Antonio Velacci in lane one and Claire Gunzer in lane two. Here we go. Jeez, Claire just ripped off a 22.49, a 22.78. Dang. Well, they're swapped. 22.49 is the time to beat. I don't think the Maserati's going to get it, but let's just find out. 22.66 to a 22.80. Yeah, you saw it wobble, didn't you? And that might be the death of her, but she rips off some quick ones when she wants to. So what our final matchup's going to look like. But first, let's see who takes the last spot on the podium. Tex Dynaco versus Antonio Velacci. Yep. Good race. 22.70 to a 22.73. Lane swappage. 22.70 is the time to beat. 22.66 to a 22.70. So, Tex Dynaco taking the number 3 spot on the podium. Staged and ready for the race final. We've got Bob Cutlass in lane number 1 and Claire Gunzer in lane number 2. Overall winner tonight is going to take the best 3 out of 5. Race 1. Dead nuts tie. 22.61 across the board. All right. Well, that was fun, but it didn't count for anything. Lanes are swapped. This is race number 2. $22.59 to a $22.69. Bob takes 1. Swapped once again. Bob's up 1. $53 to a $57. We're tied at 1 now. Back in their original lanes, each of them have a victory. $57 to a $65. Claire Gunzer got 2. Swapped one more time. Claire Gunzer up 2 to 1 over Bob. Oh, 1,000's victory by Bob. He ties it up 2 apiece for both of them. Swapped one more time, and this is the last race. Winner of this one takes the overall. $58 to a $65. Nice.
Oops. A wet one.
Bob Cutlass passing on the big end, taking the overall victory out of these 35 Pixar cars. And Claire putting up a good fight, coming in second overall on the podium. Well, there we go. Bob Cutlass taking the overall victory, and he was ignored during the picky ride, going driverless. In second place, we've got Claire Gunzer, driven by Mad Thunder 2, Numbskull Racing, Brian O, and Elevation Diecast Racing. Elevation Diecast Racing being the one who supplied me with that casting right there. And coming in third, Tex Dynaco, driven by Lone Star and Golem Jurison. Congratulations on your picks. If your pick didn't win this time, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got more of these coming up in the future. Now, we're going to take Bob Cutlass, put him up against the Gatekeeper into the stack. Gatekeeper run. We've got Han Solo and Carbonite in lane 1 and tonight's race winner, Bob Cutlass, in lane 2. Let's see if he's got it. Here we go. 22.56 to a 22.59, only off by 3 thousandths. Later swap 22.56 is the mark. Not strong enough to take out Solo. 22.51 to a 22.63. So Bob, not going to make it into the stack tonight. The 51 to 62 gram weight category is where Bob is going to probably live. My speed goes in descending order, wrapping around. Current Gatekeeper is the Rocket by Baby. My number 1 is off at a race, so the interim number 1 in this weight class is going to be the Fast and Furious Charger. See if Bob can get around him. Charger in lane 1, Bob Cutlass in lane 2. 54 to a 59. Laser swap 22.54 is the time to beat. Ooh, 47 to a 61. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. Charger goes back in his spot. He is safe. Let's pick on, well, what the fuck is this guy's name? Let's go after Clutches McKay. Why not, right? Clutches McKay in lane 1 and Bob Cutlass in lane 2. That was a good race. Bob taking it 22.57 to a 22.61. Later swap 22.57 is the time to beat. Oh, does he get it? He does not. 22.53 to a 22.59. And we're getting closer to his resting spot though. Pretty close race, so we'll only drop down a few. Let's see here. How about the Mickey D's Thunderbird? Mickey D's in lane 1, Bob Cutlass in lane 2. Bob takes it 22.60 to a 68. Laser swap will Mickey D's fire back. 22.60 is the mark. He does 55 to a 57, and we're getting closer still. So we'll stick him back in there. Let's jump down a few to the Gold Hot Ones Murata. Murata lane 1, Bob in lane 2. Oh, Bob gets him 57 to a 73. Yeah. Laser swap 22.57 is the mark. 22.62 to a 63, so Bob, better first run with a 22.57. He's going to start going the other way now. And the only person left is the yellow Murata. And no, this is not my fastest yellow Murata. We're still waiting on that one to come home from a race it was sent to. Here we go. Good race. 57 to a 65. Laser swap Murata needs to beat a 22.57. He does. 22.54 to a 22.57. So the yellow Murata stays where he's at. Bob Cutlass looks like he's at about the halfway point in that pack of cars, which is a very difficult class to get into. I can't say I'm upset about that one single bit. Claire Gunzer, number 2 overall, weighing in at 62.8 grams, puts her at the very upper limit of this weight category. 62.99 grams is the max for this one. Anything above 62.9 is in the heavyweight class. Tell you what, let's put her up against that Murata. Since these guys were pretty close, that ought to be a pretty good starting point. And if she beats out the Murata, that will be the easiest placement into the display ever. She got him on that one. 53 to a 63. Langer swap 22.53 is the mark. 52 to a 53. The Murata says, no thank you, clown. All right, putting that guy back, let's drop down to the next one, which is the Silver Solaire Ultra Hots. Solaire in lane 1, Claire in lane 2. Tight race, but that is the Solaire, 56 to a 60. Solaire's like the Seamless, 22.56 is the time. 53 to a 58. Solaire safe. Let's drop down a few to the 50th anniversary Matchbox Blue Shark. Blue Shark in lane 1, Claire in lane 2. Claire gets that one, 50 to a 60. Laser swap, we'll see if the Shark can rip off faster than a 22.50. No, 59 to a 62. All right. So, Shark getting beat. That leaves us with the Johnny Lightning 69 Yenko Camaro. Camaro in lane 1, Claire in lane 2. Oh boy. Camaro. Smoking Claire, 46 to a 60. Camaro with a 22.46 hero run. I don't think Claire's going to get it. Nope, 53 to a 60. So the Camaro, not the most consistent, goes there, and Claire is going to sit in between it and the Blue Shark. The last one we're going to test on video at least is Tex Dynaco. He weighs in at 61.5 grams. Same weight category. Let's see if he can get past the gatekeeper. That is the Rocket Buy Baby RLC. All right, here we go. Oh boy. 22.65 to a 68, off by 3 thousandths. Laser swap, I don't think Tex Dynaco likes lane number 1 enough to beat a 22.65, but let's see it. Nope. 68 to an 86. Rocket Buy Baby was, well, I kind of messed up on that one. Since we've got 2 more cars into this, it would have actually been number 44. 44 is faster than that guy. So unfortunately, Tex Dynaco, pretty quick casting. Again, if you're watching this and you didn't see the intro video, he does fit on the seamless track and he doesn't seem to rub. If you go over here to the standard segmented track, he rubs a little bit. Not bad though. Maybe worth a pickup if you do have the seamless, and you might even consider picking him up for the newer segmented track. All right, guys and gals, this one is in the books. We've got Bob Cutlass and Claire Gunzer making it pretty solidly into the 51 to 62 gram weight ranks. I went through all the rest of them that showed any kind of promise, and we've got 2 more in the 41 to 50 gram ranks. Donna Pitts sitting in between Buzz Lightyear and the 50th anniversary F-150. And well, looky there, axle accelerator right below the F-150, above, can't remember the name of that car. What else is new, right? Let's see, the gatekeeper now front running Fairmont. Hot Wheels Underground sent us this super fast Matchbox Chevrolet SSR. He was in the 41 to 50 gram weight ranks. These 2 guys were shuffled out. These 2 guys right here shuffled out of the ranks. We didn't get any into the stack, but I did send Hot Wheels Underground has 1 silver bullet that is sitting in the stack. He went back to the speed shop. He sent me a handful, 3 of them as a matter of fact, or maybe 4. 4 of them, 1 of which now sits in the stack. So that's a notable right there. The rest of these guys, unfortunately, didn't have what it takes to get into the display. K-Pillar was in temporarily until either Donna or Axel Accelerator shifted her back out. She didn't make it up that far. This Mustang up here was awfully close. He would have been in the 41 to 50 gram. This one in the 51 to 62 was awfully close, only a couple thousandths off of beating the Gatekeeper. Still one worth picking up, I believe. And anyway, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the races. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you ring the bell. That way you get notifications of my next uploads. Share, comment, all that good stuff. Until next time, y'all stay healthy. Have fun racing. A little bonus race here for you. We did a little lobotomy on Doug Krankle, otherwise known as Brad. We removed that big old green thing that was sticking up on top. Yeah, we got a Band-Aid on him. Let's see what he does without all that junk on top. Solo run, he'll probably go a little faster in the solos. Actually, extremely smooth. 2270 is the time. I think there's a version of this car without all the junk on top. If you know what it is, leave a comment down below and tell me. 2271. So not too bad when this thing doesn't have all the crap on top.